Huber, joined by Georgetown head coach Rob Scarlotta. Coach, thanks again for joining us today.
Great to see you, Jeremy.
Coach, let's start off here. Tough loss against a really good Lehigh team. Kind of your general thoughts on a tough Saturday in the Lehigh Valley.
Yeah, honestly, we're not there yet. We didn't put together a complimentary football game against a good football team. You're never as good as you think you are or as bad as you think you are during the game. And really thought that. And I told the players that and coaches when I looked at the film afterwards. I thought the kids played extremely hard, physically matched up well, especially against some of their marquee players. We lost the turnover battle for the first time in a while and lost the rushing battle. So, when you do those two things against a polished football team, it's not going to be a great afternoon for you.
Yeah, is that the one of the lessons to take there for your team is, hey, we got to play much cleaner against these quality type opponents?
Yeah, I think the speed is one of the biggest things. Make good decisions, make them fast, and try to stitch some things together. We turned the ball over a couple times. We threw a pick for a touch and fumbled the ball on the 2-yard line. Both things very uncharacteristic for us in the last 3 or 4 game stretch. So, those are all things to learn from. They're great opportunities, and that's the whole name of playing at this level against these teams. The teams that can take the failures and turn them into pluses and opportunities and learn from them, have a chance to improve and get better and go out the next time and earn a victory.
Coach, Jimmy Kibble, again, Mr. Consistency, 1 yard short of 100 yards. Again, he just keeps kind of stacking really good performances for you.
Yeah, Jimmy's an absolute warrior. He's really battling through all these games. He's definitely the target. If I was defending him as the D coordinator back in the day, we'd absolutely know where he was coming right off of the bus. So, I give him a lot of credit because they did do some things to double him, and he still came up with a big game for us. And, I think his stats are great, and what he does on the field is a huge deal for us. And his leadership off the field, even in the face of a tough loss to a good league opponent, has been great this week. So it's been fun to see him really mature from freshman year to the leader he is now as a senior captain.
Coach, you never want to take a blowout loss. One of the positives from the game, though, is you get some time for Jack Johnson at the quarterback spot where with 3 games it looked to be nip and tuck battles again. Maybe you don't get to see that later in the season. What'd you think from your backup quarterback getting some real playing time out there?
Honestly, he was super excited to get in the ball game, and we talked to our kids about that. It doesn't matter what the score is, up or down. Put the ball down and we'll go play. So it was great to see Jack come out and make some quick decisions and deliver the football. And, we had some fun towards the end of it, in a learning experience to let him drive the ball down and have some shots in the red zone to score all the way down to the last play. So, I love our players because they want to play. You can kind of feel that even at Monday's meetings and practice. After taking a recovery day on Sunday, that they're just really excited to get back on the field and show what this team, this version of the Georgetown football Hoyas are about coming into the last 3 games here.
Yeah, and again, so many guys getting a chance out there. A guy that played a lot for you in the past, we're going to get to him in 1 second, Wedner Cadet. He's going to be our Sitting Down with Scar spotlight. What was it feel like for you to see him back out on the field?
You can kind of see the smile come across my face. In 30 years of doing this, you encounter special individuals and guys that are really dedicated to their teammates and their craft and have had to battle through, the real 440 journeys that's on the field, off the field, coming back from injuries, and really having that drive to be elite, consistently elite at what they do. So the most enjoyable thing for me has been able to watch Wedner, how he's helped our young secondary from the first day of camp all the way till now. And then, I gave him a big hug pregame and just told him how proud I was of him, not because of interceptions or plays on the ball or those things, which he did in the game, but just his living example of Sisu, courage in the face of adversity. He's gone through a lot, and he represents the very best of Georgetown.
Well, I hope he's not blushing in the background because Wedner Cadet is our Sitting Down with Scar spotlight this week, the Georgetown corner. Wedner Cadet, thank you for taking a little bit of time today.
Don't take that to heart, Wedner. It'll still be the same tomorrow when we get on the field.
I won't. Hey, tomorrow's a new day. You never said anything.
Wedner, let's start off here. Does 2022 feel ages ago for you? The last time you kind of got through a season fully healthy?
Trust me, it does. But at the same time, it's only given me the advantage to just be able to really watch and study the game, as well as being able to help my younger teammates now. We got some really young DBs, corners, so it's been really amazing to be able to watch the game and help them progress. But like you said, at the same time, it's been a pretty long time since I've been able to get back on the gridiron. So nothing short of a blessing to be back out there.
And Wedner, how do you keep your spirits up after really seeing 2 seasons cut short and not even cut short, and really cut out from under you by injury? How do you kind of keep the spirits up and be positive all the time?
I always say this, and something that goes through my mind, every day. God blessed me with this talent to be able to play the sport. It's truly a blessing to be able to play the sport itself at this level, but I get to do it with this group. And, that's what I look forward to doing every day. I get to wake up and, think about the guys that I get to play with and practice with today, and, just simply how we can get better as a group.
Sgar, I want to bring you back in. I know you had some really good comments before we brought Wedner on, but again, how important is it to get him back in all phases for this team?
It's huge. When you have a living embodiment of what you're talking about to our players, and listen, we have freshmen who are going through their first exams here and a tough Patriot League schedule and having to deal with injuries and those things. And when you can point at your team leaders and say, hey, don't take my word for it, he's sitting right there. Those things are huge. And we talk a lot here about coach-led teams only go so far and player-led teams, have a chance to be really special. So, the results on the field are what we're striving for. And we have an elite group because of the seniors, especially Wedner and his group, that have stuck together through some tough times, and are really leading this program into November. So, I can't tell you how many guys I got texts from, and Wedner's former teammates have even told him this, that knew he was playing this weekend and saying, hey, make sure, he knows that everybody's watching and really happy for him. Again, not because of the result, but because of the process and what he's done to get back on the field with his teammates.
Wedner, how does it feel hearing those type of things, getting those messages, hearing from Coach Scarlotta that maybe guys you didn't even play with are kind of excited about you coming back?
I mean, that's what it's all about. That's what CSU's about. That's what playing football at Georgetown University really means. Something I left out was that, my teammates supported me and were there for me throughout the entire recovery process. But I think it's, the trust that they believe that I'm going to be able to come back and make the plays that I made before I was hurt. So that's a big part of our community and, what drives our culture.
Wedner, I'm going to ask this one. I know Jimmy Kibble pretty well, and I watch him, before games. He's doing about 1 million different drills, so he's ready to kind of make that right now big play when he needs it. You've kind of got that same type of ability of making those big plays. Where does that come from for you think?
That just comes from my drive, coming from just being young. I've been playing this sport since I was in 4th grade. And, this isn't something where you can just strap your shoelaces up and go do. You have to mentally get locked into, do what you're saying you're going to do. And, that's what I've taken to the heart, being a man of my word and making sure I go out there and do what I said I was going to do.
Wedner, last one for you, and this one may be a little philosophical, but, you have that huge year, and we can't deny it. We're in the NIL era where there is money and all kinds of things flying around. Do you ever kind of think in those low moments to say, look, maybe this is a blessing in disguise if I can get back to where I was, where I would have had to deal with all these different decisions instead of, and, maybe having to leave the Georgetown degree behind and all the good stuff that comes with it? Did you kind of say to yourself, look, maybe a blessing in disguise here that this bumpy road is the one I took?
There was, of course, there's thoughts, there's, stuff that goes through your mind, but I did have a goal when I committed to Georgetown, and that was to change the culture at Georgetown University. Forget the records. I wanted to be able to come in and, change how we all looked at each other, how we communicated with each other. Because, ultimately those were the little things that really helped us win really important games.
Well, Wedner, thank you so much. It's so good to see you back out on the field, and you're such a big part of this Hoya team. Again, just a credit to this team, and good to watch you. And hopefully, maybe I'll get to call a few, maybe some interceptions in the last 2 games. I had fun doing it a couple of years ago. Hopefully, I'll get to do it again.
That's right. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
That's Wedner Cadet again, the Hoya corner again. Such a great thing to have him back. Coach Scarlotta, Wedner will be taking the field against Richmond. And again, anytime you play the Spiders, you want as many good players out there as you can get. It's been up and down for this Richmond team, but as you've told me before, this is a really talented bunch coming up from the capital city of Virginia.
Yeah, we've seen them in a lot of crossover film, and they do a great job. I think. I really respect their coaching staff. I think they do a great job of coaching, especially on the defensive side, just because that's where I've seen a lot with scouting our opponents. So, for us, with 3 brand new members coming in, Richmond this year and William & Mary and Villanova next year. So, we're excited to be playing, one of the programs that's considered the best at our level, and looking forward to getting back home here on the hilltop to play in front of our fans and, hopefully get back on track, to the games and the way we were playing here early this season.
And Rob, you kind of touched on it quickly, but how do you kind of get ready for a new team in conference, one that you're going to see consistently as the years go on?
Yeah, thank God for small blessings. We didn't open with them. It's one of those things where we have that sometimes where we have new staffs and you have to open with them. So, they have a very solid body of work from this season. They played North Carolina as an opening game in a tough one, and then throughout their schedule they've been in every football game. And again, it goes down to those same plays we're trying to win that they're trying to win each week in practice. That 4 or 5 plays in the Bucknell game for them. This past weekend in a really hard fought battle against Fordham. So it's fun for us to see a couple of the teams that we're about to face. Crossing over. Them with Holy Cross as well. So, really excited. It's a good football team. It's who we should be playing in the month of November. Again, in another important Patriot League football game.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for taking some time today, and good luck this weekend against Richmond.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
That'll wrap it up for another edition of Sitting Down with Scar. Remember, Hoyas take on Richmond this weekend. You can see it in person if you're in the DMV or catch it on ESPN+. Thanks to Coach Scarlotta, Wedner Cadet, and our producer Eliza Kravitz. That's all for this edition of Sitting Down with Scar. I'm Jeremy Huber, and Hoya Saxa.